involve a scoring process, which look at the whole spectrum involving workers. The difference with COVID-19 as an occupational health threat that is different from what we have had previously. Previously, most of our workplace threat were mainly associated with chemical and physical hazard. Chemical exposure, physical hazard like accident, noise, heat, radiation, and things like that, where they are mainly confined to the work area of the workers. It doesn't extend to their housing, their transportation in the system. But with COVID-19, it transcends the whole chain of infection. So to to manage workplace COVID-19, we have to look at the A to Z. The workers themselves, their behavior, how they are being screened, whether they are vaccinated or not, are they being trained well, where they stay, whether it's provided housing or public housing. I learned from discussion with some people, for example, in one state, they have workplace infection, but most of it started out in the homes, in the workers' housing. But the workers' housing is centralized, so workers from different factories will stay together and managed by the employment agent. And the employment agent will supply the workers to this factory. So when you visit the factory is all nice, clean, and well organized. Temperature screening, physical spacing, and all that. Proper hygiene practices and all that. But when they go back to their home, they mix with workers from other factories and all that, and there's cross infection. So you have to look at the whole spectrum, and what we did was we appoint appropriate score, appropriate score, so that you can score. And we also identified here what we call infection assessment critical control point. Those points with asterisk. Those you can see those are what COVID-19 flare point. And we're happy to learn that one Malaysian GLC and one American-based electronic company in Malaysia has referred to our workplace metric to design their worker screening and prevention. So that is actually our purpose. Even though maybe some misunderstood that we want to put restriction on workplaces. No, the what we're trying to do is to make workplace safer, because if not, we will not be able to get out of this pandemic. And if we look back, actually this is nothing new, because in terms of indoor air quality, we already have the industry code of practice as far back as 2010, which dictate the proper indoor environment that is conducive to health. And most of it has relevant to COVID-19. For example, the air temperature, relative humidity. I told you that if the temperature is too low and the humidity is also too dry, then it will promote COVID-19. Air movement is very important, because that involves ventilation. Of course, they also talk about the chemical contaminant, for indoor air quality, but they also talk about biological contaminant, even though they don't mention virus, because virus before this normally is not a big issue in workplaces. But this is relevant. Yeah, the ventilation performance indicator of carbon dioxide. You know that when we crowd in internal space, human give out carbon dioxide. You know, um, if you go outside, the carbon dioxide level is about 400 and 410 ppm. Now, because of global warming, carbon dioxide has increased from 400 to 410 or even more in some places. Yeah. So if you go inside inside environment, of course, because of human breathing, you get more carbon dioxide, but it shouldn't increase to above 100 ppm. Yeah. So actually, the best method to measure ventilation performance, yeah, or the exchange of air from outside and indoor air is to look at carbon dioxide level. Yeah. So this is one article which I commented. Yeah. Simple measurement of CO using a CO meter. Yeah. And then we also look at the various guidance, note, yeah, guideline from our own Department of Occupational Safety and Health, from the American Industrial Hygiene Association, from the World Health Organization, from the industry code of practice I showed you just now, and also from ASHRAE and ACGIH, yeah, American Council of Governmental Industrial Hygienists. Yeah. So we came up with this combination of environmental parameters and indoor environment parameters and requirement in COVID-19 prevention. Yeah. Okay. So for temperature, the best temperature to maintain is between 23 to 26 degrees Celsius. Relative humidity should be between 40 to 70. High humidity is not a problem, but if you go above 70, maybe you have problem of personal comfort. Yeah. Ventilation rate, there are several. For example, IHA mentioned 4.5 air change per hour. WHO mentioned ventilation rate of 10 liter per second per person. So it all depends. So, when you want to prescribe that 50% capacity for a conference room, for example, it depends on the size of the room and also depend on the ventilation, the air conditioning system, yeah, that is in place. Yeah, whether there is filtration, whether there is external air exchange. Yeah, and then you can look at carbon dioxide level. Now, in terms of occupancy, as a rule of thumb, IHA did mention 2.8 meter squared per person. Yeah, per person. So you can multiply that. Now, the mechanical ventilator air conditioner, mechanical ventilation air conditioning. Yeah. You can if for example there is no exchange of air from outside, you can use filter, yeah, to filter the air, and most prescribed filter that meets MERV 13 or 14, which is a minimum efficiency reporting value. That means, for example, oops, sorry, I think 1 minute. Should be above 13, yeah. So you filter 75% of the 0.3 to 1 micron particle. Yeah, or they can use air sanitization using ultraviolet light, yeah, which is you know, bactericidal, and also it kills the virus. Yeah, yeah. So of course the virus is very small actually, you know, less than 0.1 micron. Yeah, but you know that they exist in droplet or in droplet nuclei. Yeah? They doesn't exist as itself. So when you filter this droplet, respiratory droplet are generated through cough and sneeze, but droplet nuclei are generated even through talking, yeah, or breathing. Yeah? So when you filter this, you will, okay. Now here it says that IHA says that if you have a air exchange rate of 4.5 air changes per hour, it is equivalent to wearing N95 mask. Yeah? So that's how important air exchange. Okay, you know, I mean, this the architect should know better. Yeah. Actually, the best ventilation, we talk about mechanical ventilation. We talk about filtration. Yeah, but actually, the best ventilation is natural ventilation. Yeah, passive ventilation. And I found this in one article. Yeah, that shows, you know, how our traditional home are being constructed. Yeah, you have airflow in the house, underneath the house, and above the house. You know, because you know hot air rises. For example, hot air inside the house rises and it being flushed out through the roof. Yeah, and you know, in the old days, even the floor has spaces in between the plank. You know, so actually air from underneath the house can also enter the house. You know, and maybe we should relook at this. Yeah, the traditional design of home so that we can maximize ventilation and make the indoor air fresher and less stale. Yeah. And so what we need to do now is to focus on the recovery. Yeah, recovery. We must not forget that beside COVID-19, we also have this climate change issue we need to address. Yeah. So what we need is to couple both climate change and also COVID-19 strategy. And what we need is concerted effort from the society and the government. Yeah, I think international border control has to go on. Yeah, even though we we do not mean to impede international travel, but that can be a source of infection. For example, if you see why New Zealand has been so successful is because they really control their international border. Recently, there was some cases from Australia. They immediately closed their border and enforce what do you call that? Lockdown, control order. Yeah. Reduce mobility and unnecessary travel. I used to work with the UN. I can't imagine how much travel I've made, you know, monthly, globally, jet setting here and there. And I now realize maybe 70 or 80% of those travel were actually unnecessary. Yeah. Flexibility in working remotely. I think people have come to terms with working from home, working remotely. And what we have to help us is the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and Internet of Things. Now, public transport is very important, yeah, because that is a form of climate change mitigation. But unfortunately, yeah, as you can see, they can be a hotspot for COVID transmission. If you look at this is normal pre-COVID days in Japan, where the conductor has to push the people to maximize space and all that. Of course, this cannot happen now. There should be more promotion of local travel, to empower society in infection control. I think we have been relying too much on the government. Now, I don't want to sound too negative, but I mean, dependence of foreign labor need to be relooked at now that our society, most of our people are out of job. So if we have to still rely on foreign labor, we have to monitor them closely, and there cannot be undocumented workers and all that. For example, I mean, I travel to the Middle East, UAE, Dubai, Qatar, and all that, and in some places like in Dubai, there are more foreigners than the local, but they make sure that everybody is accounted for, so they know movement of people in and out of the country. I think our manufacturing sector has been a bit too labor intensive, and we make use of course, unfortunately, we make use of the cheap labor, and maybe we need to robotize and mechanize the manufacturing sector. Promotion of green and healthy home, and empower environmental health officer and specialists. There are a group of professionals out there that are often overlooked, and they can assist the country in helping us to look at this, and their profession need to be duly recognized. Now, how much time? Am I still okay with time?
Yes, Prof. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, let us move into these workplaces. COVID-19 workplaces. This maybe move into something that is more relevant to the theme today is about digitalization. Now, I think we have to make use of the technology we have. For example, in screening of employer and visitor. We still see people taking temperature and all that. But there are automated system that can be implemented. In fact, some are saying that you can do away with reception. There's no need to, for a face-to-face reception, because everything can be digitized. And for example, when I went to Guangzhou in 2019, the first immigration that greeted me was a machine. So I scanned my passport, and the machine talked to me in Bahasa Melayu. Because recognized that my passport is from Malaysia. So the technology is here. No touch technology, for example, leave that you don't need to press the button. Modular layout to reduce cost infection, and I think architecture play a very important role here. One way, many areas are, many work areas are employing this one way traffic flow, quiet zone, no congregation in pantry or smoking area. This has been a problem. Many areas they reduce workers' capacity to 50%, but then when the workers take a break or they go for a smoke, they congregate, and then that's when the transmission takes place. work team bubble instead of department. So instead of maybe department, you have work bubble. People who maintain close contact together, and they know roughly the mobility of these people and where they stay, and what they normally do, so that you reduce interaction outside of the bubble. I think this is important, not forever, but to get out of this problem that we are facing now. Less, they say that, I mean, when people like to decorate their small workspace and all that, maybe in the future, you cannot cluster your workspace anymore. And no more meeting for meeting's sake. Yeah, so we are fortunate that the technology is here. Industrial Revolution 4.0, Internet of Things, 5G and all that. So this can help us to digitize our assessment tool, screening process, to monitor human mobility, and so on, whether in situ or remotely. Technology like face recognition, even voice recognition, infrared sensor and things like that are there to help us to innovate, and to find better ways of managing our living and workspace, minimizing physical contact. And but of course, there's the question of digital security. Even recently, Facebook was something happened. Somebody hacked the system or something, and it was down. So and security is a concern. This is nothing to do with COVID-19, but just to let you know that we are also looking in this digitization process. For example, we developed a health risk assessment tool for the Ministry of Health, where we rate a Mukim and a district in terms of the hazard and the exposure to the hazard. So we have a hazard rating and exposure rating and a risk rating. So then we can classify an area as a high risk area in terms of environmental hazard. So we have worked with Malaysia Space Agency, MISA, to put it on a geographical system, GIS system, to look at this system. So we can do the same thing with the tool that we shared with you earlier. I got this from somewhere to show you, the future of officers. Where you probably need to have some sort of health screening, temperature screening, or a questionnaire to look at symptoms and all that. Sanitization unit, automated reception, and nobody there. Air sanitization. Now they're talking about this. I shared earlier the UVC, where they place it high above people's head, which can use to sanitize the air. Hybrid workspaces, and so on. So some people can be very over innovative, I think. For example, here the restaurant, they make you wear a hat so that your antenna doesn't touch each other, because then you'll be coming closer than 1 meter apart. Even the casino are getting innovative. I don't know what this maybe blackjack table. So they have a screen here, and also dining in bubble or screen area. Again, I mentioned earlier the two-pronged approach of tackling COVID-19 and climate change. And climate change. So we have to reduce energy use And one of the way to reduce is to have smart lighting, where lighting accounts for nearly 5% of global carbon dioxide emission. Yeah, and public lighting alone, can account for 20 to 40% of a municipality electricity bill. Yeah. So if with energy saving of 50 to 70% by switching to LED technology, we can save 1,400 million, 1.4 billion tons of carbon dioxide, cutting carbon dioxide use by 3.2%, which would avoid the construction of over 1,250 power stations. So you can imagine the coal that we don't burn. And using sensor to enhance lighting efficiency. So then we look at the green and smart building. Green in terms of carbon, in terms of climate change mitigation, and also safe in terms of COVID-19. Looking at energy efficiency, efficient water use, minimizing waste. I think Malaysian, we produce tremendous amount of domestic waste, and we're having problem on how to dispose of our waste now. Promoting health, greening the environment, urban farm. I see many of my friends going into hydroponic. So you can have you can grow vegetable even in apartment. We are prone to heat and flood, so we have to think about resilient structures to overcome this hazard. I heard in the news they're coming out with a risk assessment of high risk landslide area. I think the geologists and the engineers, and how to connect communities. We socialization is still very important, and we cannot do. We are what we call social animal, so we need to socialize, and we have to maybe find a new way of socializing. Some input on smart home. I think you probably know better than me. Solar panel. I see a lot of my neighbors now putting up solar panel. They have like water-wise grass, grass that can grow without water, but maybe it's not important in Malaysia because we have a lot of rainfall. But stormwater filter strip, recycling, any energy efficient lighting appliances, grey water harvesting, dual flush toilet. In many countries now you see this dual flush toilet, rainwater harvesting and things like that. So I think these are not rocket science. I think many of you are aware of this. Is depend on maybe our commitment on how we can make our environment safer, healthier, and more efficient. And I think I just heard the other day about Kuching being going on this smart city concept. So you have smart workplaces, smart buildings, smart home, smart charging. Now that electric vehicle will be already here in smart lighting. We know that like I say, many areas are littered, but there's no people using it, and just a waste of energy. You can see travel along the highway sometime at intersection. We have the full lighting there, but nobody really using that space. Smart logistic. We can see now many goods are being moved. Especially when people are confined to their home. Smart transport, smart parking, and things like that. So maybe it will be part of the bigger picture. Smart city concept will be part of the bigger picture that we all have to think about. Okay, that was my last slide, and I'm sure we will have a session for question and answer. So let me stop sharing here, and then I pass back to Encik Farid, and we welcome comment or a question from the audience. Okay, Encik Farid.
All right, thank you, Prof. Jamal. Thank you. It's a very good, knowledgeable.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure whether
it's an eye-opening actually. So
Thank you.
I think maybe I pass to our MC first, Cik Naim, if there is a question from the floor before I proceed with my question.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Cik Naim.
Professor, and thank you, Cik Farid. Hello, everybody, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So we open for the Q&A question session. We are taking question from the attendees. They can raise their hand, they can look at this icon, or they can type the question in the Q&A box. All right.
Okay.
So we have about 3 minutes to get a question from the audience. Okay.
While waiting for that, maybe I proceed with my question first. Naim?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Prof, what is your biggest challenges? I mean, like in our industry, architect, I think to switch to a digitalization, everybody say it's a disruptive process. I think on a personal basis, I experienced that in our practice. In combining your risk assessment system into making it user friendly to designers, to homeowners or office owners. What are the biggest challenges in switching from the typical risk assessment to a digital assessment?
Yeah. I think is adapting to something new. There's always a hesitation of changing the status quo, right? I mean, look at My Sejahtera when it was first introduced. I think many were hesitant. I must say, including myself, because we find it initially maybe cumbersome, all those screening and things like that. But when we learn that this is something that we have to do, and now it become part of our life. Although it's still cumbersome, but I don't think people are complaining because they know that My Sejahtera is not only for monitoring your mobility or movement, but it also organize your vaccination appointment, and when you are confined at home, when you are tested positive and you have to undergo home quarantine, I'm sure they use My Sejahtera a lot to communicate, to communicate with the health authority. Because then you want people to monitor you because when you are not well, So technology is always a stumbling block initially, even computer. If, for example, this web meeting, many find it, there's no personal touch and all that. But after a while, it become the norm. It become the new normal. So I think initially everybody will face that. Of course, we must not lose touch of the human factor. For example, schooling from home. It can be done, but you don't want your child to grow up just communicating through the computer. So you want them to go to school just to have that personal or human interaction. So I think it is playing the game so that we have a balance, of technology and also human interaction. Families need to meet. I'm sure many grandfather and grandmother are longing to see their grandchildren and all that. So you need that human touch, but technology can assist, but it cannot replace the human factor. Yeah. Even now, for example, tahlil, you do online, right? We do tahlil online. Nobody thought about that, But we cannot do all tahlil online. Some has to maybe do it in the personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. So, Prof, a lot of data shows for industry, manufacturing, offices, how is actually serious in terms of home. Maksudnya, if you have a low-income housing, their
Yes.
space are very, very small. I think the distance, because home, I find it like from my practice, most of our staff infection comes from their rental house. I mean, they
Yes.
rented with other.
Yes.
Some of them the housemate are from factories. So I think I mean how is actually there is not much data about risk assessment in domestic. So
Yes.
Prof can give some info on that.
Yes. I mean, housing has always been part of our environmental health concern. Yeah, proper housing and sanitation. Yeah, right from the beginning, because poor housing has always been a source of infection, and communicable diseases like waterborne diseases, oral fecal diseases, and when I was with UKM, back in the early 80s, I think there were something like 25% of the KL population were living in squatter areas. I remember those Sentul area, Kampung Cubada and all that. We even have a clinic there, and most of the diseases we see, like skin diseases, scabies. So they come to the clinic, we treat them for the disease, and then they go back and they reinfect their sibling, and then so home is a place where you can get infected and you can get sick, from poor air. In fact, in other countries where home are being where biomass fuel are being used, people are dying from respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. So the same thing with COVID-19. Yes, it can spread very fast, especially in multiple dwelling, high, where you share the same elevator, you share the common facility. Not only any high density area, and not necessarily poor areas. Even I mean, I have a condo here where I rent it out, and I get news because that how many COVID-19 cases. Then there are many, so we have to rethink about how we manage our housing. And then because they talk about this bubble, when you live with housemate that work in different places and travel differently and socialize differently and mix with you differently, you are not in the same bubble, and that's when the risk increase tremendously. So you have to maybe maybe they have to have even though they live in the same house, they have to separate themselves accordingly until because they have different movement and different socialization pattern. at least until this COVID-19 dies down. Yeah? It may not be forever. I don't think it's forever, but we need to get out of this situation first. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. That's interesting. Thank you, Prof. Encik Naim, I think there's a question. Hello.
Okay, Prof. Thank you. Okay, Farid also thank you. So we have one question from the Q&A box. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay. So question from Mr. Oi Chun Hao. Okay. We all know solar renewable energy now is overseas. However, it is still new in Malaysia. Good example, we can see why Malaysia street lighting still go for conventional type using electricity cabling. Is that due to certain policy in Malaysia?
I'm not sure about this, yeah, but we know that solar energy is being given priority by the government with the feed-in tariff and all that. And I see the use of solar energy now also extending to individual house use, yeah, where people are installing solar panel in their home. And from my neighbor, for example, he said that the return of investment is quite good. I can't remember exactly, but I think within 10 years the system can pay for itself. There's no doubt that solar energy will become more prominent, more prominent in the future. The issue is that how to make it more reliable, because you can only generate the energy during the day when the sun is available. In Europe, for example, we can see wind energy making inroad into the system, because you can have more reliable generation of electricity from wind power compared to solar power. Yeah? But I was told by some people that the wind in Malaysia is not that reliable. But I think, in some areas, I don't know why wind energy cannot be used. For example, in the East Coast, where they have strong wind from the sea. Yeah? So it would be a mix of energy usage. Yeah? The problem with our main source of energy right now, coal, combustion, is not only carbon dioxide generating, but it is also generating serious air pollution. Yeah? For example, particulate air pollution, sulfur dioxide mainly come from the combustion of coal, and it is causing health consequences to children and the elderly. So I think because of our commitment, I think we are now committed to reducing our carbon emission by 45%, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a lot of reduction. Obviously, we have to move to new source of energy, and solar will obviously be one of them. Yeah.
Now we have another two questions, Professor, from
Yeah.
the audience. First, we go to Mr. Ng Fuzi. Allow me to directly to you. Are you still there, Mr. Ng Fuzi? Hello, Mr. Ng Fuzi.
Did he type the question? No.
He raised his hand.
Oh, he raised his hand.
So we're allowing him to speak directly to you.
Yeah.
Okay, Prof.
Yeah.
We take the second question from Cheng Huang.
Yeah.
You still there, Cheng Huang? Okay, we have Mr. Umpuzi now. Hello, Mr. Umpuzi. You can ask directly to Professor. I think
Maybe he's muted, no? No.
we are already unmuted.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps I think maybe the bandwidth. Then move to the second person. Now we have another one from Mr. Hazi Abdul Aziz. Can we allow Mr. Aziz to speak?
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Thank you. And thank you, Cik Naim, for allowing me to ask questions to Prof. And thanks to Mr. Moderator, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Farid.
Mantan Presiden.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Prof, for your sharing. I think it's very, very relevant and pertinent, especially at this juncture where our climates or our Earth is actually moving the end of, when so many things happen, the climate change, the global warming, so many things. I also read that part of the a coastal area in Malaysia will be somehow submerged by 2050, if I'm not mistaken, or another day, another century that will be sunk, no longer there. So, but what I'm going, that is just what I'm going to ask is that, you're talking about working remotely in your earlier presentations. I'd just like to know whether, is that going to be a norm in the near future, even though we have passed, or hopefully we can pass this COVID pandemic era. And by then, how do you see working remotely or working from home will actually be a norm in the future? Or do you think that will be somehow a non-effective kind of a work elements, in the sense that, once there's so many things, because we are not ready, as you mentioned earlier, that even our house or our homes are not ready for that. We don't have a space for our works, unless those who are really filthy rich, who had their working space in their house. For a majority of Malaysians living in a terrace house, 2070, those are small enough for them to have another space, let alone that they have 5 or 7 kids in their house sitting there in the house itself. So how do you see that prospect in the future? Thank you, Prof.
Yes, thank you for the question. Even I think before COVID, there has been some profession, I suppose, like investors, fund managers and all that, that has been working from home or working remotely wherever they are, but of course there are professions like the manufacturing profession, sales and all that, transport, which you cannot substitute people working remotely. So I foresee that there will be a combination of mixed types of work mode, both remotely and in person. Basically, because for the economy to grow, shop has to reopen, people have to still go to the shop. If, for example, you want a haircut, you cannot have a haircut remotely. You still have to go to the hairdresser. So those things will remain, restaurant, dine in, and all that will still remain. But a lot of the face-to-face interaction will be reduced. I think will be reduced simply because the technology is there. Yeah, the technology is there. For example, I told you I was working with the United Nations. We have like our monthly meeting. We have a hybrid meeting. We have an in-house meeting, and then which connects to our colleague overseas. So that has happened before COVID-19, and we also have a joint international teaching. So we have the classroom in our location, but it was also available to students in other universities in other countries. Yeah? So no doubt that the hybrid system of working remotely and working in the office will find a balance, that they will strike a balance so that you can still maintain the human interaction, which is important, I think, for the growth of our work culture. To develop the work culture, you have to have the mentor-mentee kind of thing. It's very difficult to mentor somebody remotely. But you don't have to go to office every day, I think. And this is also good for our earth, our globe. You can see that during the MCO and lockdown, our air pollution level and water pollution level has gone down tremendously. Rivers that was one black in color has turned clean again, has turned clear again. Because less and also because of less traffic on the road. I think we travel too much, more than that is needed. Anybody who's been to, in fact, Kuala Lumpur is not as bad as some of the other cities like Jakarta, Manila, and Bangkok, where the traffic congestion is even worse. And I think COVID-19 has probably brought much relief to the environment there. And yes, the one of the other thing that is troubling with climate change is the rise in sea level. In fact, that's one of the reasons why Jakarta is moving, Indonesia is moving its capital from Jakarta to somewhere in Kalimantan, because sinking of Jakarta, one from the rising sea level, the other from the excess extraction of groundwater. A similar thing was also happening in Bangkok. So, so the way we manage our cities will change, because now there are more people living in urban areas than in rural areas globally. I think almost 55 or 60%. In Malaysia, more than 70% of our population now reside in urban areas. So we are urban people now, more urban than we were before. So how we manage our city, how we manage our life in homes and in workplaces will become the challenge, in the future. But of course, some people will still have problem, and we have to, I guess, maybe the architect discipline of fraternity, can think of a home that is affordable but conducive, that will allow people to live there, raise their family, socialize with their family members, but at the same time can also do some work, related to their profession. Yeah. So it's something that we have all to think about.
Okay, thank you, Professor, for the answer. Maybe we can get one final question from the audience, be it from the Q&A box, or you can raise the hand and ask directly to Professor.
Boleh saya ask another question time?
Boleh.
Okay,
Malaysia,
Prof.
baik.
I think in our industry, the architect industry, we really collaborate with health professional lah. Prior to COVID, yeah. Then when it comes to COVID, a lot of people, I have read somewhere in the professional journal that a lot of people now not thinking about new norm. They are thinking about abnormal way of working lah after post-COVID. So what is your opinion on merging ataupun integrating these two the health risk assessment professional and architect industry in terms of our own designing? Sometimes we need to take into consideration previously like GBI as they are quite common now in the market that we have to integrate into our practice. How about what is your opinion on the collaboration between architect industry, construction industry in general, and health risk assessment industry?
Yes, yeah. I mean, we have what we call the field occupational health, health and safety, but we have not really developed home health and safety. The home can be a dangerous place. Even though we always use the term home sweet home, home sweet home, but the home can be a source of infection. People can fall, and many elderly people, fall in their home, hurt themselves, even leading to death. So as our society grow older, we have to think about this group of people. Even accident in home among children can also be high. Poisoning can occur where they are exposed to chemical, to medication if not properly stored. So I mean, the architect profession is in the design and the setup of home. I think yes, the health aspect has to be taken into account. The space required, just like when I say in the old days, we have the health requirement for home. How many space per person, proper ventilation and all that. But somehow we sort of lose track, and we focus on health in the environment and health in the workplace, but we forgot that home is also a place where many hazards can be found. And now we are moving from single dwelling to multiple dwelling and all that. So not just issue about communicable diseases, but mental health, non-communicable diseases. How do people keep themselves fit, keep themselves healthy? If you live in a condo with a high-end condo with gym and all that, of course you can go to the gym, but in some of the low-cost housing, how do you make sure that people practice healthy living, healthy eating, and all that? So, but that that is something that is happening for sure, because of the rate of urbanization is very rapid, not just in Malaysia but anywhere in the world. more and more people are attracted to urban living, and urban living can be hazardous, and we spend a lot of time at home. Now with the COVID-19, maybe almost 3/4 of the time are spent at home. So if our home are not healthy and safe, then it can be a problem to our health. Yeah, and like I say, like we have, in US, for example, they have a whole state that cater for the elderly. Yeah, but some part of Florida, I think some part of South Carolina, where elderly people from all over the country migrate there to live, because they design community and home that are conducive to the elderly population, not just safe home, but also connected home where they can live alone but have access to to health facility, using technology, like voice activation and all that. In case, for example, they fall, they can use their voice to call the emergency services, and maybe there are cameras in the home that allow people. I have one friend that that the mother lives somewhere else in Malaysia, so he installed CCTV in not every part of the house, but most part of the house, so that he know how his mother is doing. So I mean, like I say, it's not rocket science, but it's something that we have to learn and to maybe adapt to the new norm, new way of living, so that we continue to be healthy. I mean, I consider myself lucky. When we were small, we, after breakfast, we will disappear. We will go out and play, and make the whole area of kampung our territory, with the one condition that you must return before Maghrib. Sometimes we even skip lunch, because so much fun. But I think nowadays, I feel sorry lah for for our younger population, because you can only do that in the kampung, and security is another issue. Security. Sometimes we would like our children to be outside of the house, but we also worry about their security. So that is something that we have to think about also, how to make our neighborhood safer, for the elderly. I mean, snatch theft and things like that are very worrying. Yeah, indeed.
Okay, alright. Okay. Terima kasih Prof. Saya mohon maaf Prof. Masa mencemburi kita.
Oh ya, betul.
It's going, dah masuk waktu maghrib for Muslim. I think, Cik Naim, we can conclude today event, please.
Okay, thank you Professor, and thank you Cik Farid.
Thank you Prof. Thank you Prof.
Okay, terima kasih,
Bersama.
very useful. So without further ado, nanti I will share the sign out code for our members to take the code and key in this Google form. Okay, so I will allow you sometimes to take out the code and key in the Google form. Okay, so with that, just to highlight again this program, hopefully it will provide you guys with useful information on how to move forward this post-pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, and then another thing, PAMSo humbly informed that we're going to have our World Architecture Day 2021 this weekend. So I've shared in the chat box just now. You can register on the link provided, and then hopefully we'll be seeing you during this event. And then you guys will be entitled for 3 LAM CPD points. Okay. Okay, so there's still some question from the audience on the sign out code. We'll share on the screen. You can jot down from the screen. Okay. So I hope with that we conclude the session. maybe we can share the slide for the next event. Okay. You can check out at this our Facebook on the updates of this event and register there immediately. Thank you. Thank you, Professor, and thank you, Cik Farid. So
Prof,
we hope to be
Prof, for
seeing
your time.
you
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
this weekend with more interesting topics. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Stay healthy, stay safe.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. See you
Thank you,
again.
Prof.
Okay. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Waalaikumsalam.
Everybody.
Gambar satu.
Foto.